Welcome to NPJR, where we explore the great outdoors one national park unit at a time. I'm Justin.
And I'm Robin. We encourage you to pause the podcast at any time and discuss some of our talking points or try answering our trail trivias. Today, we're heading to the eastern U.S. to visit the Appalachian National Scenic Trail. These episodes are by trail lovers for trail lovers. And as far as trails go, it doesn't get more epic than the AT.
The Appalachian Mountains, among the oldest mountain ranges in the world, date back 480 million years to the Ordovician period. They were formed by plate tectonics, particularly during the collision of ancient land masses.
Erosion over millions of years has worn down the once massive peaks, leaving behind the rolling ridges and valleys seen today. The rocks in the Appalachian Range consist mainly of schist, gneiss, quartzite, and sandstone, with numerous caves, waterfalls, and gorges shaped by glacial activity and water erosion. Metamorphic, igneous, and sedimentary are the three main types of rocks, where igneous rocks form from the cooling and solidification of molten rock like magma and lava. Sedimentary rocks are formed from layers of sediment like sand, silt, or dead organisms that are compacted and cemented together.
Metamorphic rocks are formed when existing rocks, either igneous or sedimentary, are changed by intense heat and pressure deep within the Earth's crust, causing their mineral structure to recrystallize.
Common examples are granite, which is igneous, sandstone, which is sedimentary, and marble, which is metamorphic. The geology of this area is really interesting, as is its name, Appalachia. How did Appalachia get its name?
The Appalachian Trail, or AT for short, gets its name from the Appalachian Mountains, which were named after the Appalachia tribe. Spanish cartographers began using the name Appalachian or Appalachian for the mountains after Hernando de Soto's expedition in 1540. The pronunciation variations can be traced back as far as this point in the mid-1500s.
The Appalachia were a Native American tribe that lived in what is now the Florida Panhandle, primarily around present-day Tallahassee, up into what is now Georgia. They were part of the Mississippian culture known for their advanced agricultural practices, mound building, and complex social structures. As skilled farmers, they grew crops like corn, beans, and squash, along with sunflowers and other plants.
As mound builders, they were known to construct earthen mounds for ceremonial, religious, and governmental purposes. Their society was hierarchical, with a ruling elite that governed the tribe. Engaged in extensive trade, they connected with other indigenous groups as far away as the Great Lakes and Mexico. The Appalachia were also fierce warriors, frequently clashing with neighboring tribes like the Creek.
European contact began in the early 16th century, and by the 1600s, the Appalachia had become part of the Spanish mission system, converting to Christianity and working in Spanish-controlled missions. However, tensions grew, leading to the Appalachia Revolt of 1647, when some members resisted Spanish rule and religious conversion. In 1704, English-backed Creek warriors devastated the Appalachia, destroying their settlements and forcing many survivors to flee west to Louisiana or south into Spanish-controlled Florida.
Today, some descendants of the Appalachia still exist, particularly in Louisiana, where they retain elements of their cultural heritage. While there is no federally recognized Appalachia tribe, some groups continue to seek recognition. The Appalachia played a significant role in the early history of the southeast U.S., but warfare, disease, and colonization led to their near disappearance as a distinct people.
The AT follows the ridgeline of the Appalachian Mountains. There are two ways this is pronounced. In the southern and central Appalachian region, Appalachian is the common pronunciation. In other areas, people tend to say Appalachian. For continuity and homage to where this trail begins, as well as respect for the tribe for which it is named, we will use Appalachian as our pronunciation for this episode.
The Appalachian National Scenic Trail, known simply as the AT, is one of the most famous long-distance hiking trails in the world, stretching 2,197 miles from Springer Mountain in Georgia to Mount Katahdin in Maine. Trail Trivia. What is the world's longest hiking-only trail? The AT is the world's longest hiking-only trail. Back-to-back trail trivia. What is the world's longest multi-use trail? The Trans-Canada Trail, also called the Great Trail, is the world's longest multi-use path, spanning across 17,000 miles in Canada, connecting all provinces and territories.
Traversing 14 states, the AT is renowned for its rugged beauty, rich history, and diverse ecosystems. Managed by the National Park Service, the U.S. Forest Service, the Appalachian Trail Conservancy, ATC for short, and thousands of volunteers, it remains a symbol of adventure and conservation in the U.S. The ATC has been a primary manager of the AT since 1925. This year, they are celebrating 100 years of protecting, managing, and advocating for the AT. Trail Trivia. Name the longest trail in the U.S. The American Discovery Trail is a 6,800-mile cross-country route stretching from Delaware to California, encompassing both northern and southern routes. There is a bill in the Senate and a version in the House of Representatives that would make the American Discovery Trail an official part of the U.S. National Trail System and create a new category of National Discovery Trails. A study by the National Park Service determined that the American Discovery Trail route would not be a good candidate for National Scenic Trail designation because it did not meet the legislative criteria. The idea of the AT was first envisioned by Benton MacKaye, a forester and conservationist, in 1921. MacKaye proposed a continuous footpath that would connect communities along the Appalachian Mountains, providing a retreat from industrialization and an opportunity for outdoor recreation. His vision was published in an article titled An Appalachian Trail, a Project in Regional Planning.
There is a wonderful short biography detailing Benton MacKaye on the Appalachian Trail Conservancy website called From Trauma to Dream. I will include the link in the show notes. I highly recommend reading this article. I wanted to summarize it here, but we simply cannot do it justice to shorten it to fit within this episode. MacKaye's project gained momentum when Myron Avery, a lawyer and hiking enthusiast, took the lead in the 1930s. Avery played a crucial role in mapping, marking, and advocating for the trail's completion. By 1937, the trail was officially connected from Georgia to Maine, though maintenance and relocations continued in the following decades.
Although the trail was established, it remained vulnerable to development, logging, and urban expansion. The National Trail System Act of 1968, signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson, designated the AT as the first national scenic trail. This legislation placed the trail under the jurisdiction of the National Park Service, ensuring federal protection.
The NPS collaborates with the ATC, a nonprofit organization, with the help of volunteers and local clubs. Additionally, private land agreements, state parks, and national forests contribute to the trail's preservation.
In honor of the AT's visionary, the Benton MacKaye Trail, or BMT, is not necessarily an add-on to the AT, but rather a separate trail altogether, or an alternative southern section of the AT, but commonly hiked as its own trail. It is roughly 290 miles and shares its starting point at Springer Mountain, Georgia. It stretches northeast to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. The BMT offers a less traveled, more rugged alternative to the southern section of the AT. The BMT travels through wilderness areas in the Chattahoochee, Oconee, and Cherokee National Forests, including high ridge lines and low river valleys. The AT crosses the BMT several times, and the BMT ends near the AT in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, allowing for potential alternate routes or loops. The BMT is less popular than the AT, so those attempting to hike it should be ready for a wilder, more difficult experience. Flora and fauna. The AT passes through a vast array of ecosystems from temperate rainforests to alpine tundra. The biodiversity is staggering, featuring more than 6,300 documented plant species, but scientists believe the actual number is much higher. The Appalachians are a biodiversity hotspot and some of the most biodiverse temperate areas in the world.
Deciduous forests dominate much of the trail, featuring oak, maple, birch, and hickory, with a total of 158 tree species. Evergreens, such as spruce and fir, appear at higher elevations, particularly in the Great Smoky Mountains and the White Mountains. Rhododendrons, mountain laurels, trillium, and azaleas bloom vibrantly in the spring and summer months. Ferns and mosses thrive in the moist environments of the Appalachian wilderness.
According to the ATC, spanning 11 degrees of latitude and over 6,500 feet in elevation, the diverse habitats of the AT likely harbor more rare, threatened, and endangered species than any other national park unit. The chestnut blight fungus largely wiped out American chestnut trees in the middle of the 20th century.
The most iconic plant of Appalachia is widely considered to be the pawpaw tree, due to its large, unique fruit with a tropical taste that is highly sought after by foragers in the region, and its status as a native fruit with deep cultural significance for Appalachian communities. It is considered the only tropical fruit native to the continental U.S. It belongs to the custard apple family and is the largest edible fruit indigenous to the U.S. The tree is commonly found in the eastern and central U.S., thriving in forests, river valleys, and along stream banks.
The pawpaw tree is a small, deciduous understory tree that typically grows between 15 to 30 feet tall, though it can occasionally reach up to 40 feet in ideal conditions. It has large, oblong leaves that can grow up to 12 inches long, giving it a tropical appearance. In the fall, the leaves turn a striking yellow before dropping. The tree grows in colonies or patches, spreading via underground root suckers, making it common to find pawpaws in clusters.
Pawpaw trees produce maroon, bell-shaped flowers in early spring before the leaves emerge. These flowers are hermaphroditic, containing both male and female reproductive organs, but they are not self-pollinating. They rely on flies and beetles for pollination rather than bees. Because natural pollination rates are low, some growers hand-pollinate flowers to improve fruit production.
Pawpaw fruit is often described as custard-like, with a creamy, soft texture and a tropical flavor that resembles a mix of banana, mango, and melon. The fruit is green when unripe and turns yellow or brown as it ripens, typically from August to October. Pawpaws should be very ripe before eating, as they can be quite bland when not fully mature. It contains several large, dark brown seeds arranged in 2 rows inside the fruit.
The tree requires a chill period during the winter for proper fruit development, making it unsuitable for tropical climates. Pawpaw fruit is highly perishable, making it difficult to transport and sell commercially, which is partly why it is so prized among foragers and small-scale growers. Remember, never forage or eat anything unless you are an expert and 100% certain of what it is.
Pawpaw fruit is enjoyed fresh or used in custards, ice creams, smoothies, and baked goods. It is highly nutritious, rich in vitamins A and C, fiber, and antioxidants. Traditionally, indigenous tribes and early settlers consumed pawpaw as a staple food. Additionally, pawpaw leaves and twigs contain natural insecticidal properties, and extracts have been studied for their potential medicinal benefits, including anti-cancer compounds.
While pawpaws have few serious pests, zebra swallowtail butterfly caterpillars feed on the leaves, and the fruit can sometimes be affected by fungal diseases in humid conditions. The pawpaw has a deep-rooted history in North America.
Native American tribes cultivated and ate pawpaw fruit long before European settlers arrived. It was a favorite among pioneers and was even enjoyed by historical figures like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson. The pawpaw has inspired regional festivals, folk songs, and even the nickname hillbilly banana due to its unique flavor and Appalachian roots.
In recent years, there has been a resurgence of interest in pawpaw cultivation, with researchers and farmers developing improved varieties for commercial production. Farmers markets and specialty growers now offer pawpaw fruit and products, though its short shelf life continues to limit large-scale distribution. Efforts to breed better storing cultivars may increase its availability in the future. Overall, the pawpaw tree is a fascinating and underappreciated native fruit tree with a rich history, unique characteristics, and growing popularity among foragers, gardeners, and food enthusiasts.
Another iconic symbol of Appalachia is the rhododendron. Rhododendrons are a defining feature of the Appalachian landscape, thriving in the cool, moist environments of the region's forests and mountains. The great rhododendron, one of the most common species, forms dense thickets along streams, slopes, and ridges, providing both beauty and habitat for wildlife. These evergreen shrubs produce large, leathery leaves and stunning clusters of pink, purple, or white flowers that bloom in late spring to early summer. The Catawba rhododendron, another prominent species, is known for its vibrant purple flowers and is commonly found at higher elevations, particularly in places like the Rowan Highlands and Great Smoky Mountains. Rhododendrons help stabilize soil on mountain slopes, preventing erosion, and their dense growth offers shelter to birds and small animals. Rhododendrons are one of our favorite plants in this region, so beautiful when in full bloom.
In Appalachian culture, rhododendrons have long been admired for their striking beauty. Inspiring festivals such as the Roan Mountain Rhododendron Festival in Tennessee. However, these plants also have a darker side. All parts of the rhododendron are toxic to humans and animals if ingested, containing compounds that can cause nausea, weakness, and even severe poisoning. Despite this, rhododendrons play an important ecological role supporting pollinators like bees and butterflies. They thrive in the acidic, well-drained soils of the Appalachian region and can live for decades, sometimes forming nearly impenetrable thickets named rhododendron hells by the early explorers and settlers who found it difficult to traverse. Today, rhododendrons remain a beloved symbol of the Appalachian wilderness, drawing hikers, botanists, and nature lovers to witness their spectacular seasonal blooms.
Now, some animals you may see while hiking the AT. Black bears are the most famous large mammals found along the trail, especially in the southern and central Appalachians. White-tailed deer, moose in the northern sections, and bobcats roam the forests. Bird life includes barred owls, wood thrushes, and peregrine falcons, which have been successfully reintroduced in some regions. Timber rattlesnakes and copperheads are the primary venomous snakes along the trail.
Altogether, there are hundreds of species of animals sharing the AT with us at any given time. There are over 230 species of birds, over 80 species of mammals, over 40 species of reptiles, and over 70 species of amphibians found along the trail. The AT is home to over 1,800 rare, threatened, and endangered plants and animals, and the AT corridor supports populations of 9 federally listed and 360 state-listed species of rare plants and animals.
The most commonly seen large animal on the AT is the black bear. It's considered the most prevalent large mammal hikers are likely to encounter along the trail. Although they are naturally shy and tend to avoid humans, increased interaction with hikers and campers has led to rising concerns about bear safety and human-bear conflicts along the trail.
One of the biggest challenges with black bears on the AT is food attraction. Bears have an excellent sense of smell and can detect food from miles away, making improperly stored food and trash a major issue. Hikers are strongly encouraged to use bear-proof containers or properly hang their food from trees to prevent attracting bears to campsites. In high bear activity areas like the Smokies, bear cables and metal food storage boxes are sometimes available to reduce encounters. When bears become accustomed to human food, they may become bold and approach campsites, leading to dangerous situations that can result in bears being euthanized for public safety. To minimize risks, hikers should follow leave no trace principles, cook and store food away from sleeping areas, and never feed or intentionally approach bears.
Despite their potential dangers, black bears play a crucial ecological role along the AT, helping to regulate prey populations and disperse seeds from berries and other plants. Most bear encounters on the AT are peaceful, with bears often retreating when they sense humans nearby. However, if a hiker encounters a bear, it is important to remain calm, make oneself appear larger, and slowly back away without running. Carrying bear spray can provide an extra layer of protection in case of an aggressive bear. By respecting bears and taking proper precautions, hikers can safely coexist with these magnificent animals while enjoying the beauty of the Appalachian wilderness.
The most commonly seen small animal on the AT is the mouse, specifically the white-footed mouse and deer mouse. Mice are often found inhabiting trail shelters due to food scraps left by hikers. The white-footed mouse and deer mouse are 2 closely related rodents commonly found in North America. Both species have large eyes, big ears, and soft fur, typically brown or gray with white undersides and feet. They are excellent climbers and jumpers, often inhabiting forests, grasslands, and even human structures like barns and sheds, and in the case of the AT, public shelters. While they look similar, the deer mouse tends to have a more distinctly bicolored tail, dark on top, white underneath, whereas the white-footed mouse has a more uniformly colored tail.
Both species are nocturnal omnivores, feeding on seeds, nuts, fruits, insects, and fungi, playing a key role in seed dispersal and the food chain. However, they are also notable as carriers of diseases, particularly hantavirus and Lyme disease, by hosting infected ticks. White-footed mice are more common in the eastern U.S., while deer mice have a broader range found across most of North America. Despite their small size, these mice are highly adaptable and thrive in a variety of habitats. The best way to avoid contact with mice is to choose tent locations farther from the shelters.
Hiking the AT. A thru-hike means hiking the whole trail in one uninterrupted attempt, requiring months of preparation, endurance, and resilience. Most hikers begin their trek in early spring, March or April, following a northbound route, or NOBO as it is called on the trail, to take advantage of warmer weather and a longer hiking season. The hike typically takes 5 to 7 months, though some complete it faster with a fast packing approach. Fast packing is distance trail running and ultralight backpacking rolled into one epic outdoor adventure, where the typical strategy is to hike the ups, jog the flats, and run the downs. Along the AT, hikers will climb over 500,000 feet of elevation and endure a wide range of weather conditions.
A successful thru-hike requires meticulous planning, including physical training, budgeting $5,000 to $7,000, about $1,000 per month, and careful gear selection. Essential gear includes a lightweight backpack, a durable tent and/or hammock, a sleeping bag rated for varying temperatures, a stove for cooking, a water filtration system, and proper clothing for different climates. Many hikers use a resupply strategy, either sending food and supplies to post offices along the trail or purchasing items in nearby towns. Navigation tools like maps, guidebooks, or GPS apps help hikers stay on track. Since the AT passes through both remote wilderness and small towns, understanding resupply points, shelter locations, and emergency exits is crucial for a smooth journey.
Each year, around 3,000 to 4,000 hikers attempt a thru-hike, but only about 25% successfully complete it. The most common reasons for quitting include injuries, illness, financial strain, mental fatigue, and bad weather. No-bow hikers face high dropout rates in the first 100 miles, particularly at Blood Mountain and Neal Gap in Georgia, where many decide to go home. Neal Gap is the location of the Boot Tree at Mountain Crossings, a well-known landmark for AT hikers. It's a tradition for hikers to hang their boots in a tree at mountain crossings as a symbol of completing a portion of the trail or switching to trail runners. The AT passes directly through the building, the Walasi Yi Interpretive Center, also known as Mountain Crossings, the only place where the AT goes through a man-made structure or under a roof. According to data from the ATC and various hiking sources, around 75% of AT thru-hikers quit within the first 100 miles. The Appalachian Trail Conservancy has tabulated completion rates from 2012 to 2018, which range from 19% to 30%. This means if you can make it past the first 100 miles, you are very likely to make it the full 2,197 miles.
Southbound or SOBO hikers make up a small percentage of AT thru hikers, and for good reason. The ATC has a section on their website designated to prepare SOBO hikers. To summarize it, the best time to start a SOBO thru hike is June or early July. An earlier start means harsher conditions in Maine, high water, black flies, mud, and downed trees. A later start increases the likelihood of winter conditions in the southern mountains, where deep snow and ice may require special gear. Snow and freezing temperatures can appear as early as late October.
With only a 4 to 5 month window for favorable conditions and an average thru hike taking nearly 6 months, southbounders must be fit, disciplined, and maintain a high mileage pace with minimal rest days. Poor timing can lead to hazardous conditions at either end of the trail. From what I could find, only about 2,000 SOBO thru-hikers have ever registered a completed SOBO thru-hike, keeping in mind not everyone registers or declares once finished. Since 1936, when the Appalachian Trail Conservancy started tracking thru-hikers, roughly 20,000 people have completed thru-hikes. About 90% are no-bow hikers.
Starting a SOBO thru-hike before June 1st is not recommended. The AT in Baxter State Park, including Mount Katahdin, does not open until the hunt trail is cleared, typically in late May, but sometimes as late as June. Snowmelt continues through May, making stream crossings dangerous with cold, fast-moving water. Additionally, hiking during mud season can damage the trail due to unstable conditions from the freeze-thaw cycle. Although SOBO thru-hikers have seemingly more odds stacked against them, they have about the same completion rate as no-bow thru-hikers.
No matter when or where you start your AT hike, weather on the AT is highly variable. Hikers will experience around 90 to 120 days of rain, with the Smoky Mountains and New England being particularly wet. Snow is common in March and April in the southern Appalachians and again in September and October in the north, especially in the White Mountains of New Hampshire and Maine. Humidity, thunderstorms, and temperature extremes add to the challenge, making proper rain gear and layering essential.
Hikers can expect to encounter ticks, mosquitoes, and sandflies, also known as no-see-ums or black flies, which can be a big nuisance and potential health concern due to their ability to transmit diseases. To protect yourself, plan to wear long pants, long-sleeve shirts, use insect repellent containing DEET, and regularly check your body for bites after being outdoors. Consider treating your clothing with permethrin for added protection against these insects. Hikers commonly suffer from blisters, shin splints, knee pain, tendinitis, dehydration, heat exhaustion, and gastrointestinal issues, often from contaminated water. So be sure to have a high-quality water filtration system. Hypothermia is a concern requiring careful clothing choices. Foot injuries are especially problematic as hikers walk 10 to 20 miles per day for months, often over rocky and uneven terrain. The greatest risk to your health and safety is contracting a tick-borne disease.
In case of an emergency, hikers should first try to contact help using a cell phone or satellite device. If far from healthcare, the best approach is to assess the injury, stabilize it if possible, and determine the nearest exit point, which can be a road crossing, ranger station, or town. The AT is well traveled, and other hikers can assist in calling for help. In severe cases, self-evacuation or waiting for search and rescue may be necessary. Carrying a first aid kit, knowing basic wilderness first aid, and having an emergency plan can be life-saving. On average, 2 to 3 hikers die on the AT each year while attempting a thru hike.
The most common causes of death are health conditions and falls. Heart attacks and breathing trouble are more common with elderly hikers. Be aware of hypothermia, most common in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. Even drowning is a cause of death seen on the AT, as was the case with Joe Kanga Harvey, who died in 2022 on the Vermont-New Hampshire border on the Connecticut River. Completing the AT is a physically and mentally demanding journey, but those who finish experience an incredible sense of accomplishment, lifelong memories, and a deep connection with nature and fellow hikers.
The ATC estimates that around 3 million people hike a portion of the trail every year. The ATC website has a really helpful interactive map feature. Another common way to enjoy hiking the AT is what is known as section hiking. Section hiking the AT is a way to complete the trail in stages over time, rather than in one continuous hike. Section hikers can choose when and where to hike, and can spread out expenses.
We have enjoyed at least one trail on the AT in almost every state it goes through, but have only completed day hikes, no large sections or overnight backpacking trips yet. To date, we have successfully completed just a small percentage of the AT, but still a very beautiful and rewarding way to get to see so many wonderful trails and parts of Appalachia.
Some people hike from one end of the trail to the other, then turn around and hike back the other way. This has been coined a yo-yo hike. AT thru hikers typically get their trail names by having them given to them by other hikers on the trail, usually based on a noticeable personality trait, physical characteristic, or a funny incident that happened during their hike. Essentially, a nickname earned through their time on the trail, rarely something they choose for themselves.
Emma Gatewood is perhaps the most famous of all Appalachian Trail thru hikers. Her trail name was Grandma. She was the first woman to hike the entire trail alone. Grandma was born in 1887 and first hiked the AT at the age of 67 in 1955. A mother of 11 children and survivor of an abusive marriage, she set out on the AT with minimal gear, wearing Keds sneakers, carrying a homemade sack, and relying on foraged food and the kindness of strangers. She completed the trail in 146 days, just over 4.5 months, proving that determination and grit could outweigh high-tech gear and youth. Her journey captured public attention, inspiring many future hikers. She went on to hike the AT 2 more times, becoming the first person to complete it 3 times. It all started when she told her kids, who were all adults at that point, that she was going for a walk.
In the early days of the AT, hikers would sometimes be allowed to sleep on porches of farmhouses along the trail, and sometimes even eat meals with them. The Barefoot Sisters, trail names Isis and Jackrabbit, hiked from Maine to Georgia in 2000, and then turned around and completed a yo-yo hike back to Maine. An incredible detail is that they did the hike mostly barefoot, hence their nickname. Another version of a thru hike is called a flip-flop. A flip-flop hike has a hiker starting somewhere in the middle and then heading one direction, reaching the end, and then returning to their starting point and heading the other way. Flip-floppers will generally have a less crowded experience, both in town and on the trail, as well as higher success rates. In 2023, the reported success rate for AT flip-floppers was 36%, compared to 28% for no-bows and 31% for so-bows.
During our Stargazer adventures, we hiked so many trails that are part of the AT, it would take a long time to go through my travel journal and detail all of these hikes. When hiking AT trails, we were always so excited to look up and see the white blazes, the markings of white paint on trees, and other objects that continuously mark the AT.
White blazes are 6-inch by 2-inch rectangles of white paint that mark the AT. They help hikers stay on the right path. White blazes can be found on trees, posts, rocks, fence posts, telephone poles, and cairns, which are small piles of rocks. White blazes indicate the trail's direction. Double white blazes indicate a change in direction, and the white blazes are repainted every few years by volunteers.
A couple other blazes to know. Blue blazes mark side trails that lead to shelters or lookouts, and yellow blazes mark the boundary of the trail corridor. Because the AT is one of the best and most consistently marked trails in the world, many thru hikers forego carrying maps and instead opt to carry a guidebook. Do not take that as a recommendation to not carry a map. It's just what many people choose to do.
Since we don't have time to cover all of the hikes we have completed along the AT, we've selected one of our favorites on the south end, Blood Mountain in Georgia. I've been fortunate to hike Blood Mountain more than once. My first hike was a springtime hike with my family who live in Dahlonega, Georgia, when the weather was perfect and the sky was so clear that I could see the Atlanta skyline, roughly 75 miles away as the crow flies. My most recent hike of Blood Mountain was one in fall, during Robin's and my Stargazer adventures, offering a completely different but equally breathtaking experience. From Robin's Travel Journal. It's the tallest peak on Georgia's stretch of the Appalachian Trail, offering stunning summit views. One of Georgia's most popular hiking destinations, the Appalachian Trail and Byron Reese Trail to the Blood Mountain summit is 4.4 miles out and back, with 1,456 feet elevation gain. The trees on one side of the mountain were covered in ice. It was just below 40 degrees and quite cold, but so worth the view from the top. And because of the day that we picked, we were so lucky to see some pretty cool plants and moss covered in ice. A few fun facts before we complete a junior ranger activity. The highest point on the trail is Klingman's Dome, 6,643 feet above sea level, in Great Smoky Mountains National Park. The lowest point is at the Bear Mountain Bridge over the Hudson River in New York, about 410 feet above sea level.
The youngest known thru hiker completed the trail at age 5, although the average age is 39. M.J. Eberhart, trail name Nimblewill Nomad, is the oldest person to hike the AT at the age of 83 in 2021. He started at Flag Mountain in Alabama and hiked the Pinhoti Trail to Springer Mountain, which added about 200 miles to his thru hike. Nan Reisinger trail name Dragonfly, holds the record for the oldest woman ever to thru-hike the AT. She reached the trail's northern terminus in 2014 at age 74, alongside her friend Carolyn Banjack, trail name Freckles, who was in her late 60s herself. The white-haired and red-headed duo referred to themselves as Fire and Ice.
The AT is sometimes referred to as the Green Tunnel due to its thick tree canopy that covers much of the path. The original southern terminus of the AT was at Mount Oglethorpe. It was later moved to Springer Mountain because there were so many chicken farms along the trail that the hikers said it really stunk. Some of that old section of trail is now the approach trail from Amicalola Falls. Amicalola Falls is a must-see in the area. When we visit family who live in Dahlonega, Georgia, we always hike in that area and really enjoy our time at the falls, which is the highest waterfall in Georgia at 729 feet. According to Wander North Georgia and Explore Georgia, the falls are also the third highest cascading waterfall east of the Mississippi. Amicalola is derived from the Cherokee language meaning tumbling waters.
A quick junior ranger activity. Let's think about hiking the AT. If you were going to hike the AT, would you plan a through hike or hike it in sections? Where would you start the hike and when? Other than the essential gear, keeping in mind the backpacks are heavy and every ounce adds more weight to carry, what item would you make sure to take with you? What is your favorite snack you would make sure to pack and have at your resupply locations?
I've always been fascinated by the AT and the idea of connecting with nature in such an immersive way. Having family who live in Dahlonega, so close to the approach trail, has only deepened that fascination as I've visited the area countless times and developed a special connection to it. I love this part of the country. It will always hold a special place in my heart. My uncle and I have had endless conversations about the AT and the prospect of hiking it, yet neither of us has ever completed the full journey. The idea of a through hike has at times consumed me, and even more so for my uncle, I think. While I don't want to completely rule out the possibility of a through hike, my current approach would be to complete the AT in sections. Section hiking offers several advantages. I would divide the trail into 10 segments of roughly 220 miles each, completing one section per year over the course of a decade. Though weather is unpredictable, I would aim to hike each section during the ideal time of year, avoiding the extreme heat and relentless bugs of summer, while also steering clear of the freezing temperatures of early spring. Beyond essential gear, I would bring a guidebook to enhance the experience. Having a physical reference would be far more practical than trying to memorize key details in advance. Since section hiking eliminates the need to carry everything for a continuous 2,200-mile trek, the extra weight of a book would be more manageable. As for a well-stocked snack bag, dried fruits, plenty of trail mix, and protein bars to keep my energy up along the way.
In this scenario, you would have the guidebook, so I would want to take a book to read for pleasure, and when I finish it, I would donate it and pick up another book. My essential food items would be granola, energy bars, dried fruits, and homemade trail mix. No M&Ms for me.
It was really hard to condense this massive trail into this short of an episode. I have a feeling that one day we will be revisiting the AT in another episode. Who knows? Maybe an episode about our through hike as a family. The Appalachian National Scenic Trail is a remarkable achievement in conservation, recreation, and wilderness preservation. From its humble beginnings in the early 20th century to its current status as a protected National Scenic Trail, the AT remains a testament to the enduring power of nature and human perseverance. Whether enjoyed through a short day hike or a full through hike, the trail continues to inspire adventurers, conservationists, and nature lovers. As it weaves through mountains, forests, and valleys, it stands as a living monument to America's natural beauty and the spirit of exploration.
If you haven't visited the AT yet, We hope this inspired you to add it to your bucket list. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, share, and follow us for more outdoor adventures. And to all you junior rangers out there, good luck on earning your badge. And hey, if you've earned a junior ranger badge recently, send us a picture. We'd love to see it.
And if you want, feel free to share your latest story from your time in a national park unit. Who knows? Maybe we will mention it in one of our upcoming episodes. Be sure to include in the email that you grant us permission to share your story. I will include our email address, npjrpodcast@gmail.com, in our show notes. And feel free to follow us on our adventures on Instagram, @npjrpodcast. Until next time, happy trails. And remember, the earth is ours to explore and protect, so let's get out there and do it.
Explore.
Learn.
And protect.